Welcome to the Common Sense Show. I'm Micah, and of course you know who I am because you've heard other conversations as well. But I like to introduce myself anyways, just in case you're a guest here for the first time. I am excited because I have what's going to be, I think, a fun conversation today with Richard Blank. He has a very interesting, unique experience when it comes to his work history, and I'm excited to share it with you today and kind of get some just information about international business, what it means, how to start it, like what are some of the things involved, why a person would choose to go into international business, why specifically the country. There's a lot that goes into choosing to do business internationally. But before we do that, just some housekeeping. I want you to just to let you know that we have what I'm calling the Common Sense Show after party. So what I'm going to start doing, not today with Richard, but in our next conversation, is we're going to begin our conversations here on YouTube or X or Rumble, wherever you're watching this. And then we're going to end the conversation over at the Common Sense Show after party for members only. And we will be switching over to that model starting with our next episode. So if you're watching this, you're going to get a great full show. We're talking about how to grow an international business and all the things associated with that. But the next episode, we're going to be switching to our Common Sense Show after party, where we continue the conversation with our guest privately for our members. And so you'll only get half the conversation, but that's okay. Wah, wah, wah. You know, you knew I was going to do this at some point, but here we are. But without further ado, let me welcome Richard Blank to the show. Richard, welcome to the Common Sense Show.
Micah, so happy to be here. I'm a huge fan. Can't believe I made the cut. But since I'm here, I'm more than willing to share a lot of tips and tricks on how to start a business in Costa Rica.
You did make the cut. I mean, your story I thought was great. I mean, when I looked at your bio, you talked about how you relocated to Costa Rica when you were 27. You trained thousands of employees over there. You are responsible for the implementation of massive call centers. Like you have done a lot of amazing things when it comes to doing business internationally. And I want to know what it all is about. I want to learn more about what it's like to start a business internationally. What goes into the process of even thinking that that's a good idea for you, and you know, why it is that people should choose that as a path if that indeed is their path. So I'm going to kick it over to you, and maybe you can get us started with what went into your decision to even move to Costa Rica. Let's start there.
It was a 1 in a million opportunity. When I was 27 years old, back in August of 2000, a friend of mine who owned a center here said, Richie, come and teach English for a couple months. You know, relax for a little bit, take a break. And when I came to Costa Rica, I didn't want to leave. So after those 60 days, I went to my friend and asked if I could stay. And he said, you beat me to the punch. I was just about to offer it to you as well. And just like as you would expect, there were hugs and high fives and smiles. I worked with my friend for 4 years. I learned the business. But this is the different thing, and this assisted me in my decision to start my business. I didn't do C-level. So no, I didn't understand the contracts, the labor laws, and things like that, and the benefits. I learned it from the inside out. Really, I was one of the bravest and strongest of soldiers. I learned retention and customer support and onboarding and training, a little bit of human resources, and I even learned search engine optimization. So if you really want to think about it, a lot of the times it's not like what you're getting paid, but if you can get some experience, I did 4 years of it, and I learned enough to be able to start my company. But the secret, it wasn't the margins or the connections that you have. It's really extending empathy and giving call center agents dignity, because the largest gripe and what causes most attrition is people just don't feel valued and disrespected. And you're from Massachusetts, I'm a Philly boy, and we know about old school. And if you can step up and respect someone and call the balls and the strikes and set your own example, then maybe you'll get that fidelity. Maybe the people will stand with you and try their hardest. And I've seen that in my 16 years of owning my own company. Yes, I've had attrition. Most of it's natural. But the players that have stayed with me the longest, it's interesting. In the beginning, you might say they were average. They weren't that shiny object or the boaster or the chest pounder. They were that consistent individual that never missed work, showed up on time, did their numbers, and were just cool all around. Maybe by default or luck or whatever, but they rose to the top and they did it through merit. And fortunately for me, because I'm a guest in this country, I've been able to surround myself with individuals that actually do have my back. And I think I earned it the old school way, Micah.
So what drove you to get involved in the telecom business, the call center business? What is it about what you do do you have a passion for it? Is this something that you just kind of fell into and then you just realized that you enjoyed doing? How do you connect with it?
That's an excellent question. If I had to choose to do something for a living, I'd sell pinball machines, but I can't do that. You have to pay a price to not only work at a call center, but if you can survive it and gravitate and own one and have your scars, you've really devoted a lot to it. Individuals sometimes enjoy pain. They like the ink of the tattoo or boxing or certain martial arts, or even in the gym when you get the burn, when you're doing those extra reps to get bigger. My thing was investing in someone and seeing the potential that's wasted. It's because of the discipline structure or things that are happening outside the office. It's very labor intensive. So that's the sweet and the sour. On the flip side, I chose an industry that's exceptionally lucrative. And there is certain infrastructures here in a labor pool that pretty much is plug and play. All I needed to do is just gather, separate, and connect. And that's pretty much how I was able to do my business. Let's be realistic here. I can't wear all hats in the kitchen. And so when I left my friend's center and decided to start my own, the smartest thing for me to do, and this is my industry specific, was to rent a turnkey station at a blended center, almost like a seat on an airplane. Why? Because legally, they have the internet connection. They have the water, the coffee, the building. I'm just paying premium and I could scale accordingly. So I didn't have to worry about certain things. And that gave me peace of mind. It wasn't comfortable, but neither is college. But freshman year in the dorms is the best time of your life. So you're kidding me. I'm in my honeymoon stage of my business, surrounded by the average 24-year-old, and the thing was taken off. I could have been anywhere. Fortunately for me, I found a place that was stable enough where I could grow accordingly. And then after a couple of years, I rented space. And you can buy equipment for a fraction of the cost because companies do go out of business. So I had a leverage there too. I could scale once again accordingly. And so I was there for 6 years till I really had some stable clients and some capital. And then a couple of years ago, we bought a building, threw on a third floor, equipped it out for 300 seats, and here we're sitting today. And so I wish I had a 6-month story. It took me 16 years to get here. But I tell you what, I was exceptionally conservative with my money. I turned down more accounts than I accepted because we don't want gray area, illegal, and I'm not going to be your fall guy like the Maltese Falcon. And also, I'm a guest here, Micah. Come on, this is a strict Catholic country. I want to make sure that the agents that work here are proud of the accounts. They can go home and tell their parents what they do for a living. Why do I think like that? Because I was in their shoes. My parents asked me questions as well around the dinner table, and I wanted to be proud of what I was doing. But it's different, my friend. Massachusetts and Philly, you know about that sports coach or that special teacher that really believed in you and let you rewrite that paper so you could get a B. There's always that person along the way that literally balanced your bike when you needed it the most. And if anything and nothing, they're going to go through the Richard car wash, and I'm going to set them straight. And I'm going to give them structure, discipline, strategy, diplomacy, advanced vocabulary. I'm not going to role play with you. It's not the Glenn Ross Wolf of Wall Street. I'm going to give you soft skills, my brother. I'm going to teach you to be a gentleman and a lady on the phone, so you have more conversion ratios and the talk time goes. These are certain metrics you can gauge. You can't spin them. So if you see people increasing their talk times and their conversions, obviously they're doing the rhetoric and they're conversing. And then you realize that outside the office, they can now solve their problems. That's what you and I do. We're the polishing school. We detail them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they really get it, and they really see the fact that I respect them and know their name and play pinball with them, they're going to want to go the distance with me. They're going to go 15 rounds like Wepner versus Ali. And when that time comes, they should have already been promoted to supervisor, if not higher levels. And so it's really an organic growth that was able to give me the roots and the branches to sustain this thing. And so I needed to hire the attorneys and the accountants, the real local players that knew this stuff. So I couldn't go to Cisco school. I'm not going to law school. No way.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to hire myself the A team. Men and women I can go out to dinner with and talk to, I can be straight with, and they can come and see at the call center and how we're working. It's a real relationship. And I like that. I guess my final thought on my own composure, and this is a scary thing, but it's also liberating. By making yourself vulnerable makes yourself powerful. And in order for me to expand this army, I needed to bring people in. It's the only way. It's not stock wizard time where you're just by yourself in a corner. No, it's person heavy. What are the best leaders? The ones that break bread, play, know your name, and invest in you. And so you understand that better than most because we grew up in a very, very similar way. And you do it by getting your stripes and your scars, and you earn it so the people around you respect you. And that's how the leaders are born. They're done it, through the people that decide who's going to lead the charge.
What were some of the frustrations of having to that you didn't know would come up when it came to? Obviously, there's an ignorance gap when you're starting a business in another country. But what were some of the things that you didn't know that were going to be a problem that ended up being a problem or a challenge? Something, a tripping stone that you turned into a step stool that you had to go over. Obviously, language is a barrier, but in your case, you already spoke the language, which makes a lot of sense to have your background and then go to a country for a language that you already speak. But what was there something like just being an American that you had issues with, either good issues or bad issues because of where you come from?
We'll talk about the legal and the personal. Let's go with the legal. There are so many holidays here in Costa Rica. So many. And all of a sudden, where is everybody? And legally, they're allowed to take it. And if they come to work, it's a double pay holiday. So my advice to anybody working abroad is make sure you save money to pay for the benefits and the taxes so you're not scrambling or leaving someone out to dry. That can kill your company and your reputation. So I had to prepare for that. There's always the savings to do that and to let the clients know ahead of time so there's no surprises that these 8 to 12 days might affect business in the United States.
Right.
Personally, sure, speaking Spanish opens doors for me and shows respect, but guess what it also does? It's the James Bond. Sometimes I say, speako españolo. And they're like, this guy's an idiot. And so I'll sit back, and it's only for selected company, but I'll see if people are sizing me up or saying things about me. I don't need to disclose that to everybody if they have bad intentions. But for the most part, I speak Spanish, but I have used that for my own protection from time to time. And I guess when they see me and I'm a business owner and I wear a suit, you would believe that they would charge more. Let's be realistic. So what do? I got my main man out there. I got Ace. He goes to the place. So instead of $100, now it's $45 and transportation. Thank you. Yeah, this is great.
Right.
And so you need to have the right people that know the right people. Does it sound like mafioso or connection-wise? No, you just got to know people. And you got to make sure that the people that you entrust are not doing things that may be unethical as well. Where am I going with this? Listen, if you're doing something for me, I don't mind paying for lunch. You're getting a salary. And if you really hook it up, there's boosts. But if there are things that I don't know about where the price goes from $1 to $2 because you're making a cut, I don't think that's right. And I think that's unethical. And have things like that happen in the past? It has. And I take things on a case-by-case basis and try to give people benefits of the doubt. But if you think our relationship isn't worth $444, come on, Micah, seriously? Damn. That's the kind of thing you get more disappointed than you do angry. Do I need to check up on people? Sometimes. I'm not saying that they're unethical, but I do like to price shop around and really know the market. So if God forbid I do know the market's $1 to $1.25 and you're coming to me at $2, I mean, seriously, you know, I was born at night, just not last night. I mean, come on.
Is there always a like, I feel like there would be always something hanging over your head.
Of course. When
you're in a foreign land, that you're one step away from people trying to screw you in some way. And not to be nihilistic about it, but like just because of there being that that gap of, you know, you being foreign born. And I'm assuming maybe that lessens with time. Perhaps you have if you establish roots there, you have family, and you know, sure, you come into the culture more so, then they embrace you more so. But like, was it always in the back of your mind that there might be someone that comes out of left field? How
about this? My stimulation was on such drive that everything was enhanced. So obviously this is not the same old neighborhood in Boys Town. I mean, I'm in a new place. Right. So everything to anything was not only new to me, but was analyzed almost like when the Terminator was putting down that thing. So obviously, my good friend, if people are coming up to me and asking me for the time or to help them or to do certain things, no, you know, really. And there's certain times and places for stuff. But do I see myself as a mark and a target? Yeah. If you're counting $100 bills at 3 a.m. in a wrong neighborhood, you're in big trouble. Or there are people that do come to Costa Rica for certain activities, which may lead to issues and problems. Sometimes they'll be in the rainforest and get off the path. They could hurt themselves, fall down waterfalls, snakes, spiders, you know, frogs could get them. There's also certain nightlife activities that could be risky. And as I say, it depends on how you want to spend your time. And I decided to respect the laws here, the people here, not be loud and really infringe. But also, when you say take advantage of, I get disappointed more than I do angry. And that's a shame, because people have the opportunity, Micah, to have a beautiful relationship with me as a neighbor, as a friend, or just along the way. And they just want to get me for an extra $2.
Right.
Take your 2. I'll see you later. You'll never see me again. I'll pay $3 for that water.
Right.
So it's okay. And you don't want to ruin your happy spirit either. And these are certain prices that you pay. But once again, if you choose your battles wisely, and these really shouldn't be the ones you fall on swords, it's you'll realize that it just doesn't hurt you. Just at the end of the day, you might just need to wash off that crap and start anew. But all in all, my friend, I think I've been well received. Sure, there's some disgruntled employees, but that's a different story altogether. But think about it like this. My plant grew here. I didn't go home with my tail between my legs. I'm happily married. I'm on your podcast and you're my main man. So you tell me, there could have been 1,000 decisions in the Richard Choose Your Own Adventure. I chose this one. And my stars became aligned. And I can't be more humble and thankful for this.
What was the process like of training thousands and thousands and thousands, what you did, of telemarketers? What is that like? That's a massive undertaking.
It's quite simple. Imagine a comedian that does the same act like Chris Rock, go around the world and talk in front of 100,000 people. You just need 5 minutes. You could be famous. For me, what happened was I was dissecting what I saw throughout the 4 years of working at my friend's center and prior jobs that I had. It's almost like memorizing movie quotes. I knew enough to jump enough clouds to go through a call. I borrowed enough advanced vocabulary, used things from Remington Steele or the Face Man from the A-Team, or even old stuff from Basil Rathbone when he was Sherlock Holmes. Are you kidding? These are some of the masters of speech. And I would literally pause it, look up certain words, and start rehearsing it. And these were certain beautiful transitional sentences. And it encouraged me to look into the thesaurus so I could find words that were power up. So when you ask me about these classes, it's easy for me when people are paying attention. It's easy when you're throwing underhand wiffle ball pitches, Micah. Come on. And you're using the big red bat, not the yellow bat. Like, come on, the Fred Flintstone bat, you're cranking them in the neighbor's yard. And so if I can do these checkpoints with these people, sure, I can do a 2-hour soft skills class with a break in there. It's all engagement, soft skills, common sense. It's really just giving them lucidity so they're in the now. And instead of thinking of a 10-minute conversation, Micah, they're thinking of 20, 30-second conversations. So they can do this like Rocky did and Chuck did. They go distance. Really, really, really. Checkpoints. And we discuss trigger words. We use tie-down sentences. I talk about certain soft skills like buffer boomerang techniques, and you analyze phonetic micro-expression reading. This is severely advanced vocabulary and thought process because we're eliminating 3 of our senses. You ask me how it is training, it's freaking fascinating because most classes are making you go over script and are threatening you with coffee breath. Me, I'm engaging you with such intense, advanced, lucid communication strategies that do not compromise your ethics, values, or morals. It's just a manipulation of short segments of conversation so people keep their attention. You readjust tones and you anchor like crazy to your arms and legs. Grab onto that rock and you keep moving.
Let's talk about some of that. I want to like hear a piece of that. I want to function as if I was working in your center, and so you're training them to hear tone, response, cadence in a person's voice to respond to that. Is that right?
Yeah, you can tell when someone's yelling at you, and you can tell when grandma's pissed. So what people need to do is to slow down and severely calm down. And there are some actions. Look, do you want me to juggle some stuff for you? Sure, I'll give you a couple quick techniques. Let's just say you were outbound prospecting. If someone picks up the phone at your company, I'm sorry, what is your assistant's name that works there?
My assistant is Elma.
Elma, right. So Elma picks up the phone, right? Ring, ring. Hello, this is Elma. And I'll be like, the Common Sense Show. How you doing today? And Elma will be like, who is this? Instead of saying, oh, it's a telemarketer. What's going on? We're not interested. We use the company name spike. That's the first thing we do. Or say, hi, it's Elma. Elma. Why not? It's something that they understand. It's neutral, and it gives us at least a little bit of a footing. At least I got a first down. What happens then? I gauge a positive or a negative reaction. All I did was a company name spike, or I said the name Elma. I get to gauge from a 1 to a 10 is a positive or negative reaction. Negative. Who's this? What are you selling? We're good, thanks. No, thank you. Click. Mish. But how about if they go, who's this? And that's when we give Micah the famous buffer boomerang technique. Do you have this?
Yeah, we see it. Buffer boomerang.
I would say, Elma. That's an excellent question. My name is Richard Blank. I buffer by using the name. Elma naturally is such a sweetheart, so it wouldn't have been negative anyway. But let's say it was. I'd be like, Elma. That's an excellent question. My name is Richard Blank. And then I don't tell my company yet. I want to gauge a second one. She go, who is Richard Blank? Hey, nice, Elma. She went from a 10 to an 8 to now to a 6. You can see the reduction of defense. Now you have 4, which moves forward to your momentum. And so I'd say, Once again, Elma, I'm so glad you brought that up. My company's name is Costa Rica's Call Center. So it's really a stop and go like boxers. I get to do a company name spike to at least establish and to calm you down, get you out of that trance of the 1,000 telemarketers trying to get through to Micah. You ask who I am, because obviously you like me now. I got your attention. Reduce that twice, said my name twice, and I'll play the odds. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it, but now you're at a 4 compared to a 10. I got a 40% resistance, 60% chance of getting through most of the time. So Elma goes, okay, Richard, you'd like to speak with Mike. I'll send you through. And I'd say, Elma, before you transfer, I just want to let you know you're amazing, which he really is. And I'm going to let Micah know that. And so then she transfers me to you because I got to pass the pitch. And you pick up the phone. You're like, hi, this is Micah. I'm going to go, Micah, Elma's the nicest person I've ever spoke to. She's a great coworker of yours. I don't do your company name spike. I do the positive escalation. And then you would say, she's been with me forever. That's my wife, or that's my family member. And then I'd be like, she's amazing. So you don't think Micah's defense is from a 10, now he's at a 2. Right. And then of course you're going to say, who are you? Buffer Boomerang. Yeah, Micah Buffer Boomerang. I'm so glad you brought that up. It's Richard Blank. Do it the second time again. Then you ask my thing, and now you're at a positive. Now you really like me. And so calm and cool, at least I get to pitch. And from an educated point of view, you make a decision. I might use military alphabet, give you options, tie it down. And then in writing, I'll let you know that Elma was great. So when I call your company back in my pipeline and she answers the phone, I'm going to go to the common sense show. Elma, she go, is this Richard? Elma, how are you? Listen, I got to let you know, I've been here forever. Micah just told me what you said about me. I cannot thank you enough. It's my pleasure. By the way, Micah, this, and this. Really? And so they give you all the goodies. And then let's say Micah has to make a decision. Let's be realistic. Richard's more expensive than India and the Philippines. It's true. Yeah. But he sits down with Elma, and Elma, which nobody else knew, was his greatest confidant. But prior to any sort of contract, look at the relationship that I have with Miss Elma. And you say, you know, maybe just on merit, this relationship with Richard might offset that cost because of the soft skills, the relationship. You give us warm fuzzies. I don't know. I think I like this guy. And I think we're going to give him the business because the 2 other guys pushed past you. Elma, they didn't remember your name. One guy was rude, but his price was great. You know, one guy didn't call back when you asked. But this Richard, nice guy, right? And so, yeah. And people tell me that. And they say, Richard, you won on merit. Price, yeah, you got beat. But I liked your style and I liked what you offered and I liked our beginning. It's a very, very strong start. And that's how I was able as well to build such beautiful foundations in the beginning of these business relationships prior to any sort of contract.
How did you are these techniques that you learned while working there in Costa Rica, or did you learn them prior to? Is it just the natural evolution of what it takes to get frustrated and past not getting results or getting a wall or door or window slammed in your face and trying to think about ways to overcome that? How do you create a workaround for people's emotional responses to getting bombarded all day?
Amazing question. And I'm definitely going to give you an incredible answer on that. My foundation really comes from my grandparents of having to be exceptionally polite, but also charming. So I learned a lot from old school ways. And that's what I try to do. Now, what is my technique? Follow me here. I believe in romantic deaths and even jumping clouds. Hey, Micah, let's just say Elma, for an example, after the company name spike, 2 buffer boomerangs, and the potential positive escalation, if I got to pass the pitch, was done. 30 seconds, maybe a minute, depending on pausing and chuckles. Let's just say it's 30 seconds worth of pitch right there. And Elma says, you know, you don't need to say anything to Micah. Richard Blank, Costa Rica's Call Center. Yeah, you're funny, but thank you again for calling. We're just not interested. Click. It could be harsher, easier, whatever. I believe, por lo menos, as they say in Spanish, at least, I got a company name spike, 2 buffer boomerangs, and a potential positive escalation. And I think I name dropped Elma 3 times in a really cool way, especially one time when I said, Elma. Yeah, she liked that. And so, did you make money? No. But it's almost Bruce Lee practicing the 1,000 punches by himself until he had to walk into that Japanese dojo. I'd rather practice 1,000 deaths. So that one that I needed after that was the one that really counted. And I could do it almost in my sleep. And also I like the taste of blood, and I have a tough chin. I am a big boy, so I can handle missing a shot. I can also accept making a shot. And I know about percentages. So if I'm going to increase percentages, I might have to make minor adjustments. And in the 24 years of being in this industry, 16 being an owner, having final decisions on script, I am very, very much adamant about certain respective tones and trying to at least anchor the 30. I could freaking care less about the 10 minutes. 10 minutes do not exist. There are so many people mowed down from these, I call it carpet bombing, or you want running from the trenches at the front, or the redcoats walking into musket fire. Why would you sacrifice? Why would you sacrifice? It's such trained soldiers. Do you really want to reduce their morale? Do you really want them to feel bad? I'd rather have them do 1,000 30s than just stretching out the 10-minute ones and none of them come back. Oh, imagine that 10 minutes and then you never get the call again, or they're just being nice to you. I'd rather have real checkpoints. If it goes in 20%, 60%, 90%, might need to call Micah back. Then you move it to the 100%. Don't do cold call closes sometimes. You build pipelines with Elma and Micah, and you respect their boundaries. Man. And so it's for the long game. Every person's a puzzle, but there are still the pieces of the puzzle that can get together, but it's a different design. Still shapes. Who cares what the outer is? It's really the inner of the person. Do you know how many people are black and blue from phone calls? And do you know that people ridicule this industry and telemarketers look down upon it? I think even worse than car salesmen. No offense. People hate us. But then again, how many people do you know work for companies that may not sell stock or real estate, but make business from calls or retain clients from inbound calls, assisting customer support, maybe get referrals? Or how about that individual that's willing to take a lot of time and patience while there's an exit interview of a long-term client telling us why we're losing the business? So you can get that report and bring it back so we can make adjustments. And so it's very delicate. And it shouldn't be something because your 1,000 phone call that day is that person's only one phone call to a company. And they should expect a beautiful, live, bright show every time. Just don't throw on the slop. Right? You want me to give you a visual? Enough of the prints. It needs to be a painting, Micah. It really does. And the people need to see the brush strokes and the color. For less burnout, you can really enhance the call. You get there. It works.
Right.
And I know it's a dying industry with AI and automation and omni-channel non-voice support and chat and emails. So maybe we're that violin on the Titanic. I don't know. But while I'm here, I am still going to believe in the art of speech. And if English is their second language, I will give them the stability and the balance of really powerful language so they can properly represent themselves and make their arguments and points and listen to people and take copious notes. It's not like school, but it's almost like 13th grade. We're just bringing them to charm school over the phone and teaching them how to take notes so they can remember things and do proper business composition letters and leave emails that had some due diligence and voicemails where you're doing 2 or 3 anchors in there. So you show that you did some research prior. Does this make sense?
Interesting because billions of dollars of goods were sold for years over the phone. Almost everything that we can think of was sold essentially over the phone for years. And, I've written several times about the inclusion of AI in business operations. And we know that as much as they like to, meaning the people who engineered the AI algorithm that is responsive to human interaction, they try to build in emotional responses of empathy or sympathy into their into the prompts or into the cues for the AI response. And it just, there is, in linguistics, there is this sense you get with tone and expression. And, humans have developed the ability to read both micro expressions, but also to hear micro expressions. I think you mentioned it initially when you were speaking about just like the little inflection, the something that lets you know that your kid didn't have a good day at school, or walking into the house and knowing that your wife had a bad day at home. Something happened. So she had a conversation earlier in the day that she can't shake, something like that.
How about this as an argument? AI is a gathering tool. It assists. It'll do everything for you. Have you ever owned a pet that might have gotten lost for a day or ran away and then came home?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Well, not great, but that's something you and I
they came back.
Well, I'm glad it came home, but I'm making a good point. So how about if the AI goes, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. You're like, no, you don't. You don't own a dog. So how are they going to give you a hug when your cat ran away? And how are they going to high five you when your dog comes home? And so I'm telling you, there are these certain human emotions where after a certain period of time when they're mastering art and speech and business and transportation and everything, it's going to come to a certain point where we're so amazed when a robot does something simple. It's going to go into the future where we're going to be amazed when a human can do something better than the robot, like when we play chess against, Deep Blue and stuff. And so it's interesting like that. I want a couple more wins for our team. I really do. And I'm willing to take a home cooked meal from mama any day. Even the other one could be filet mignon. I'd rather still have, the ham and eggs with mama. Why? Because it just somehow tastes better. And AI will never be able to do that. Right. There will always be that sort of thing where you and I give the yo, what's up when everything's cool, right? Even it could be across the room. It's still a communication that we do. Like, hey, yeah, man, what's up? I'll catch up with you in a bit. I mean, if it's 1%, I'll still keep that 1%. All you need is one candle to make the inferno. That thing will never go out. And if my industry, once again, people might want to pay to press 0 and to speak with me compared to leaving a message, filling out a form, because I know you, Micah. You press 0, and so do I. I always want to speak with somebody. I'm sick of putting my information in or speaking into it. I want to speak with somebody. And then what happens when you get them on the phone? You explode. And that's not fair for that individual either. They did nothing wrong. And then they say they're sorry, and you say, stop saying you're sorry. And you do that weird dance.
Well, how about this one? 6 words of death, in my opinion, when you call someone. I know that must be frustrating. There's nothing more frustrating than someone saying, I know that must be frustrating, because it's taken you forever to get to the point where you can actually have a conversation with them. But I find it ironic that they say, I know that must be frustrating. And you're like, yeah, can we just skip the full empathy? And a lot of times this comes from people who are real people answering the phone. And you're like, who trained you on this? It's just like, if you just address the issue,
you have to work the fire in the house, right? You got to choose that area. And so what I like to do is if you mention ABC, okay, ABC. Now that's done. Blah, 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 blah. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay, Micah, 1, 2, 3. So I'm letting you know that I know, and you don't need to repeat it anymore because I just repeated ABC 1, 2, 3. So we try to shave time. I'll let you flip it once. If you're doing 2 times, no, I'll let you do 1.25, and then I'll finish it for you to let you know. And it's really passive aggressive. It's inadvertently moving things along. It's true. And there are, you want to know a really good technique? This is insane, but it works. If someone is cursing at you, they get the warning. I mean, but if they're cursing out loud, let them go. I mean, let them really go. And then when they're done, It's about an 85% success rate, unless they're too cowardly and they hang up or have to go. But they will literally apologize. And then I go, come on, you Massachusetts, you go, we got something here. Micah, do you feel better now?
Yeah, right.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? So I'm not saying, but I'm letting you do this. And then they said, no, Richard, but thank you. And I do apologize. I apologize for cursing. I didn't mean to shout. So, and I go, are you ready to move forward? And they go, yes, I am. So then really what you've done is you've seen a certain side. You didn't react like as you say, the below average new guy. You got the apology. So if you're telling me you're not going to put them on roller skates, grab their hand and roll them into the end zone, please.
And really what you've done is you've shifted control back to yourself. When they're losing it, if they're swearing and cussing at you, the whole "you wouldn't kiss your mama with that mouth" thing comes up. And the reason why is because it's something that it's almost like spittle. It just comes out. People just get upset. And
don't you realize that's an amazing place for you to make points?
Yeah.
And then at the end, they tell the supervisor how great you were because you had patience. It's all good, my
Very
friend.
interestingly bipolar experience, I must say.
Well, it's me today, you tomorrow. I've had flat tires before and I've been frustrated. And there's nothing better than someone that assists you and really lends a hand. And I try my best to pay it forward as many times as possible. As I mentioned, a lot of people have assisted me here, literally to change tires in the rain.
Right.
And I want to do something. And the little things we can do is just by making somebody's day, like Elma, who is amazing. That's very important. And she should be mentioned on your podcasts and things like that. And so maybe that could be one of the small things that differentiate myself from your other guests, because those are the small details I look at when I sit in people's offices and learn about their lives. I just don't like most people gravitate towards what they think is important, but it's really that person's hobby, or if they really are proud of their favorite color, right? There's certain things that you would be surprised that they do on their free time, like gardening.
Right.
But when you see a certain side of somebody else, you realize it's such a misconception. And so I really want to see the best in people. And so when they come in my company, I ask them to give me a coming of age moment. When they fill out my form, turn the paper over, write me a couple paragraphs in English. I just want to know when you beat up a bully or saved a kitten. Come on, can you zig and zag so you can be on Micah's podcast? Can you be on the phone with somebody, and if he asks you a normal question off script, can you answer? And I want to see people have depth and essence. Are they capable? Are they proud of themselves? Have they accomplished anything? And it doesn't have to be financial. And when people tell me that they run marathons or learn the violin or raising their grandparents or learning a third language or learn to cook, I love that. That's when you and I start making cool nicknames for them, right? You pick them up on rainy Wednesdays. Start calling them the kitten saver champ. And then they smile at you, and then they find their composure. And so that's why I've been able to win. Bad news bears style. I mean, I don't know anything else. And I don't like bosses that are not on the floor with their people. They should really be walking rows and sitting with people. And if they're afraid of you, then you're doing a bad job. That's something they're taking from other jobs or what they see on TV. Because if you're not breaking the law, why are you afraid of a cop? And if you're crushing it at work, you want the boss to be sitting there. That's the greatest way to make more money. And to get that acknowledgement, to see really the efforts you're putting into this job. And to really answer a lot of your questions working internationally, there are certain traditions and cultures here that I still don't understand or haven't perfected, but there is a universal thing, and it is a smile, and it's respect, and it's breaking bread with people, and it's taking breaths and calming down. I like to put water on faces because people get excited to go put some water on your face. We drink a ton of coffee here because the coffee's delicious. So, and then I'll say to them, Micah, hey, let me ask you a question. How many bosses had coffee with you in their office? Most of them will say never. So I go, do you see the sort of respect that you get here? Not saying I'm the greatest ever, but a lot of people have told me that one of the reasons that they have stayed is the fact that they do know the owner, and they do like the fact that they feel welcomed. And as I say, if you're looking to build thousands, you got to take what you get.
Right.
But I'm 150 strong. So my friend, I can be exceptionally selective of my honeycomb club.
Yeah.
And if someone likes pinball and can hang out and do their job and be coachable, you're part of my dirty dozen. It's great to have you on the team.
Why do you have the largest collection of restored American pinball machines and antique Rockala jukeboxes in Central America?
Why doesn't anybody? It's really reverting back to that earlier statement that I made about believing in yourself and knowing your tastes. I know what I love more than anything. It's restoring classic pinball machines, especially from the 1970s.
Do you actually hands-on do the restoration yourself?
I participate. I use electricians and experts to do the final work, but I am a wonderful apprentice, and I'm learning enough to be able to maintain my machines. If there's a code red, I got to bring the guy in. But
Right.
It's very easy for me to use my Wildcat 125 to clean them up and make sure they're shiny and beautiful. But why? I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Arcades were wickedly cool. Pinball was like the high school cheerleader that was just so out of reach. It was expensive. Those games would last a second while I could play Asteroids for 25 minutes. And $5 had to last you a Saturday. And so when I got older, had this company, call centers got tons of space.
Right.
I started treasure hunting. And fortunately for me, and unfortunately for everybody else, arcades are going out of business. People have their handheld or their home consoles. So I would find people giving them away. I'd be willing to drive 5 hours to pick up a Last Action Hero machine with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's selling it for $400. I'll buy it as is. Yeah. And you get the guy to look it over, another couple $100 in replacement parts. Next thing you know, you're sitting on a machine worth $5,000. And so I'm not looking to sell them. I'm looking to buy them. And so I've grown to 15. My oldest machine is a 1970 Bally's Camelot. And the newest is the Schwarzenegger 94 Data East. And I have everything in the middle. It's a beautiful pastime, and it's fun. And I have the space for it. And the majority, if not all, of the Ticos that I've met here have never played pinball in their life, virtually, but that doesn't count. And so I'm really trying to use this as a happy medium. So individuals can meet others from different departments, spend time with me, right? Let off steam, feel better after lunch, work on that hand-eye coordination.
It's such a pure pastime too. Like it's trying to make that ball move around, get as many points as you can. Like it really is. There's so many memories that anchor to whatever the jukebox is playing, of course, but also like playing pinball. Everyone remembers the first time they played pinball, where it was, kind of the machines they were playing, what the theme of the machine was.
Exactly.
And it kind of anchors you to that experience. I think it's a smart way to kind of bring in, to get the employees just engaged in something that helps them to enjoy the experience of being at work.
So for me, I'm right on the cuff. My 70s machines are the last of that generation to paint the wood play field, not use stickers or laminates, use the old wheels. And the sound is like the xylophone bell, because in the late 70s, starting the 80s, they started using the LED screens, right? And different noises. But yeah, I like the old marquees. I love the pinball art that they did, very art deco-ish, and the outside cabinets. Yes, they take up an enormous amount of space and they're extremely delicate and high maintenance. But why not? I mean, if you can even buy one. And I tell you what, I mean, the machines now are, $10,000, $20,000. The brand new ones are very specific, rock bands and other movies. Right. But if you look for the 70s and 80s no-namers, like the stuff that I own is certain things that really is not after a movie or a comic character, and you can get them for $1,000, turnkey, ready to go. You put that in your living room, you'll be the most popular cat in your neighborhood, and everyone's going to hang out. You remember the old movies when people would be singing like songs by the piano or the organ?
Yeah. When
I have these pinball machines out, it's just like you would imagine. One guy's playing it on both sides. There's people leaning on the machines, watching the game, chilling. The old school way, laughing together, talking smack, competing. You know, your best friends are made during recess when we can't play tag in the center. There's no kickball or capture the flag. How do I get these kids to compete in a natural way where they can tease each other and laugh, and have fun, and smoke less cigarettes, and get off that Facebook and Instagram, and do things?
Yeah.
And so I encourage that here.
Engagement is the name of the game.
But speaking about jukeboxes, this is a beautiful 1961 Rocola Regis that's right here. I collect them too. It's very expensive to fix the motors. 45s are good, and sure, they work. But my suggestion is to have both. So you can have your 45s going, but also connect it to a Bluetooth, MP3, whatever. And you can just enjoy a limitless amount of music. Just make sure the cabinet's beautiful, and restored, and people love those too. And why not? One man's trash is another man's treasure.
That's right.
And my wife knows this is a hill I'm willing to die on. So listen, she can win 99.9. Just give me that little percentage points, and I'm
just keep the one, right?
But thank you for bringing that. I mean, it really was a goal of mine to own at least one machine. But then when you got one and you had the room, you just look left and you look right. You just started doing it.
I got to fill this space up. You know, it's just sitting there.
It's crazy. But as I say, it's one of the most beautiful pastimes. When I watch old movies, I get to point things out that I'm familiar with. I'm learning it. It's not as complicated. You can get replacement parts at certain specialty stores. And but if anyone's in Costa Rica, they're more than happy to come visit me and play my machine. It's free play, of course. I don't charge anybody.
Right.
And
I
so,
love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Richard Blank, I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed it, Micah.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. If people want to kind of reach out and kind of learn more about you, what you do, and maybe come take a flight just to play pinball with you, where can they reach you?
You beat me to the punch. I was going to say, come down here and visit me. But I have an exceptionally large Facebook fan page, 132,000 local Costa Rican ticos. It will give your audience a real grasp of the business process outsourcing industry in Central America. Now, we're north of Panama, south of Nicaragua, and Costa Rica is the only democratic society in Central America. There's no standing army here. So they put their money into education with a 95% literacy rate. You're going to like this. Companies such as Amazon, HP, Intel, and Oracle are here. Plus the major players with the call centers, Teleperformance, Concentrix. And we're known for the best infrastructure, most neutral English accent, medical tourism, ecotourism. And the labor pool, they're exceptionally skilled. And when we're on Mountain Time Zone, there's many direct flights here. It's safe, unless you're goofing around in Boys Town at 3 a.m. But it's been a good run. And as I say, I can't thank you enough. When this goes live, I'm going to put it on there. You once again increase and add to your huge fan base. And
we're live right now. People are watching you and they're responding to you. Someone said,
I like that.
I like him. Outstanding Q&A. So
does any of your audience have any final questions?
I put the question out there to them if they had any questions. Haven't gotten any yet, but
Mike, I got one last bit of advice, my friend. I'm going to end it on a good note, but it's a serious note, okay?
I like it.
You can't be too hard on yourself. It's true. And I always believe that regardless of the outcome, if you did certain things with good intentions, you can look in the mirror at the end of the day. And if you put your head on the pillow, it will ease your thoughts. It's carrying that sort of weight is terrible. And I like certain priorities that are more valuable than money. I know money's important. I'm an owner of a company. I've done well for myself. But I believe in chivalry. I love when people have honor and they do the tough things, not the easy things. And I do understand natural attrition. You're following your career, you're moving to the United States, but I love it when someone starts strong and ends strong. They'll come into my office, look in my eyes, shake my hand, say, Richard, oh, did we have a run? It was wonderful. I must be moving on. And I love that because I know that we walked well together during that time. And I find that people are exceptionally honorable that way. And I've seen great things here, and I've seen such potential. And as I mentioned before, you can't carry that weight. Do the best that you can with individuals, but you still need to keep a healthy distance. And me and you have been given how many chances, Micah? So I give as many chances as I can, as long as you're not breaking the labor law and as long as you're not upsetting the client. But if I need to put some water on your face for 5 minutes, give you some coffee, quick game of Pac-Man, come on, buddy. What do you think Mickey was there for Rocky? Come on, Micah. Come on. Come on. You know that. The best friends are the ones that really get you through it. And then if you're there for that individual, they'll be your most loyal soldier, because you saw them at the weakness and you didn't give up on them. And so, as I say before, if they're not breaking the law or hurting anybody, but they're having a really bad day, be that individual for them and be sincere then. And I've seen that that's worked because it's exceptionally sincere. It's authentic. You don't use it for guilt in the future. It's a straight shot. That day they can use it any way they want. But you're really showing who you are as a leader. And then they're going to go and tell 100 people what you did. You don't need to do it. You've done enough. So as I'm saying, plant those seeds. And if you plant the right seeds, they're the ones that are going to talk and people are going to come. Micah, my main man, that is my last advice for you and your amazing audience.
Appreciate that. Richard Blank, everyone, thank you for coming on. Let me just give you a round of applause, like only that we can do here at the Content Show.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right. So that is Richard Blank, CEO of Costa Rica's call center. With those inspiring words, we learned about him, the way that he linguistically trains his people in this call center, and also, of course, his unique collection of pinball machines and jukeboxes, not to be left out of that conversation. Until next time, he's Richard. Micah, if you don't go about doing your business, you're going about doing the business of someone else. That was early, but now it's real.